3, 2, 1. What is up? What is up? Welcome back, the WFTN gang. I am here with my two lovely co-hosts, Aiden and Charlie. We're here to discuss Alien Romulus. We teased it on last week's episode. You know we're back for the weekly episodes. We said, watch, see what we're going to do. And what have we done? What are we on now? Is this 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
5 weeks straight.
We're going crazy. So we're very excited to be back and talk about another movie. I'm very excited. But first, of course, we got to check in with our lovely co-host. Charlie, we'll start with you. How you doing today?
It's a fantastic night, Benjamin. Out here on the West Coast, best coast. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here for this episode, even though originally I was not slated to be because I had no interest. I had low interest in seeing this movie. So, but I got around to it and came around here to hop on with the gentleman here, and I am very excited to talk about the thoughts and opinions on this film. So yeah, I'm doing good, man. Aiden, how are we doing tonight? Pal,
WFTN crew stand up.
All right.
I like the energy. I like the energy.
No.
I started it high, and then Charlie just took it down.
I'm bringing us right back up.
No. The energy's not low.
One of these days, we'll get Charlie to
one of these days.
WFTN.
Yeah, he'll hit the monotone. Hey guys, welcome back.
I'm doing wonderful. I'm feeling great. I'm ready to talk about this movie. This is our second non-franchise, I guess, movie that we have. Well, never mind.
Well, it's a franchise.
I'm tripping. Yeah, it's very late. All
non-like.
Right, if you can't. But
I was gonna say comic book, but no.
Let's just say our third non-comic book movie. How about that? That we have covered on this channel. Dune 2, Trap, and Alien Romulus. Three great movies to start us off. And
Creed. We did Creed as well. So 4.
And we did Creed, yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless, I am excited to talk about this film today. I watched it yesterday, and my thoughts are still fresh. I have a lot of things to say, and so yeah, I'm ready to get into this.
Are they verified hot though? Have you seen that? Have you seen
does that mean?
No,
Rotten Tomatoes introduced a new, instead of like certified fresh, there's now a new level, verified hot. I'm not even joking.
I love that.
Okay.
I forget if it was today or yesterday. It's like brand new, but now there's like movies that they're, announcing this is verified hot on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
It sounds so fake, but I promise
cool.
It's real.
That's cool.
Yeah,
is there like a certain percentage threshold that you have to meet to get that? Do you know?
I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I've seen Discussing Film just throw it out for a bunch of movies.
Certified hot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Verified hot.
Verified hot, excuse me.
Certified fresh, verified hot, yeah.
What? Why use the different fides?
I don't know.
Fides, come on, man.
Yeah, I kind of love that.
They run the game so they can do whatever they want, I guess.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rotten Tomatoes, I'll just bring up the scores real quick. Certified fresh, 81% critic score and an 86% audience score.
Nice little spread for old Alien Rami.
Ben, what were you going to say before we get into it?
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask if you were finding anything out about this verified hot.
I looked it. I mean, I guess.
Okay, here's the details.
Uh-oh.
But how does a film become verified hot? In order to qualify, it has to earn a verified audience score of 90% or higher on the popcorn meter and meet a set of eligibility requirements.
Interesting.
So this is entirely audience related is what it seems. It's basically like the certified fresh equivalent for the audience.
Yeah.
I kind of actually like that. I thought that it was like just a higher level of certified fresh, but verified hot for the audience? I'm kind of down with that.
I'll take that.
I can't find any movies that are out now that are
Deadpool and Wolverine.
verified hot. Oh, it is. Oh, I see the little logo now. Oh, Deadpool and
is.
Wolverine has a 95% audience score. That was not the case when we covered it.
I
Wow.
think it has gone up. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very interesting.
That's cool. Well, I guess I'll start us off, and I'll just lay it on you. I'm a verified hot as well too. I think this movie is damn near flawless. I had a blast, dude. I had an absolute blast. This is everything I want out of a horror movie, everything I want out of a sci-fi movie, everything I want out of a sci-fi horror movie. I had a great time. I went in with kind of leveled expectations. I knew that there was a lot of discourse on like the movie not being that great. I know Brandon was telling me the weeks leading up that he had a blast. He even told me that he has it higher than Dune 2. Again, he wasn't that high on Dune 2 to begin with. Not trying to just expose him, but he does have Alien Romulus over Dune 2, and I don't personally. I think that this is 5 out of 5 stars. I've kind of abandoned the number system. I'm just going 5 out of 5 stars, but if I had to give it a number, it'd be high 9s. Second favorite movie of the year, hands down. I just had a blast with this. I had a blast. It was everything that I was looking for. It was everything I wanted. I would liken it, and again, take this with a grain of salt, because I'm not like actually likening it to this exact same degree, but I would liken it to a movie kind of like Barbarian. And that's all I'll say before we actually get into that stuff towards the end. This is just, when I sat down to watch Barbarian, all that out of left field stuff, that type of feel that Barbarian gave me, where you go in expecting one thing and then you just get the craziest freaking thing you can imagine a little bit through the movie. That is what I felt through here. And again, it's just that mixed with sci-fi, a wonderful last girl in this. It was just awesome. Great cast, great performances all across the board. And so yeah, I absolutely love this movie. If I had to do a number, like I said, I'd be high 9s, but 5 out of 5 stars for me. 5 out of freaking 5
Dang.
stars for me.
That's crazy. I didn't know that you enjoyed it that much.
I kept my mouth shut this time. I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, but Charlie was telling me that he saw my like score and review on Letterboxd. Like,
whoa.
Well, hold on. I wasn't like, I didn't go out of my way. He's saying what I said in bad faith. Okay, I opened the app, and since you and Ben are the only people that I follow on Letterboxd, obviously it pops up with, oh, your friends. This is what your friends logged recently, and for some reason, Aiden, your log wasn't there. Don't know why. Your log for Deadpool Wolverine was.
I waited.
I checked
for
last night. When did you?
Oh, well, you know what? I didn't write my review. I just rated it, so
okay.
it probably didn't show up. I'll change that now.
I saw your Deadpool and Wolverine one, but then Ben right in front of it was Ben's, and I saw his score.
I haven't seen it yet, so
okay.
Yeah, don't go looking. You know.
Well, Ben's about to give you his right now because I'm going last.
Go for it.
I guess I'll start with my score. I went 4 stars, 4 out of 5 for me, and I think part of that is just like in general. I think I'm a little harder to please when it comes to horror movies. Because like for me, just like the scary factor, the tension and whatnot, that can't just like drive a score up. So, you know, some people love certain franchises, and I'll watch those movies and I'll say like, okay, it's a good scary movie, but it doesn't really do much for me personally. So I think I have I'm either harder to please or I have higher standards with horror movies. I don't know which one it is. Probably a mixture of both. But this one for me, this was like a really just like a great blend, not only of the horror sci-fi elements, which were handled beautifully, but on top of that, like the movie looks amazing. I think it's written fairly well. It's not like a super complicated story, but it kind of gives you enough to justify everything that's happening. So like I just appreciated so much more. And then like some of the characters and performances were really good. And then like especially towards the end, like at least for me, like some genuinely like I am uncomfortable, what am I watching type of things. And we'll probably end up talking about that when we dive into spoilers, because I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen any of the films in this franchise at all. And I know that there are a couple of decisions that they made or things that they included in this film that fans of the franchise are very divided on. Like some people really dislike this movie for those reasons. But then for me, who doesn't have that like history, that experience, I don't have this kind of set way that things need to be. And so even if this is like a change for other people, for me, this being my first experience with some stuff, I was less against it. But we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think just like, even if you just take it from like cinematography, visual effects from that standpoint, I think it's Fade Alvarez. Is that the director's name?
Director, yes.
Yeah, like some of his other films, like Don't Breathe, he knows how to take concepts and build on them so well, and then kind of deep dive and like flesh them out into different scenarios that offer something unique but still like intense. Like Don't Breathe is a great example. It's literally just like, intruders in a blind guy's house, and so the situations set up in that movie it just keeps the movie intense the whole time. And so expanding that to a franchise like Alien, I think worked amazing. So yeah, I love the movie. I've got a lot more to talk about when we actually like dive into it, but curious to hear Charlie's thoughts, just because we didn't expect him here. He's the most wild card. I thought that Aiden would really like it. I don't really know how Charlie feels about horror movies, just because we don't really like talk about these much. So Charlie, please enlighten us.
I gotta tell you guys, I was really excited to hop on this episode because I knew that both of you guys would like this, and I just didn't. I could not. I mean, I don't think it was horrible. It was like how people overuse the word mid. I'm going to use it like I thought it was aggressively mid. Like it was.
Wow.
For what Ben mentioned about how he feels about horror movies, I think that's me, but like times 10 of that. Like I do not enjoy horror movies on like almost any level. I think, and I'm glad that you made the comparison to Barbarian, Aiden, because if you remember, I didn't like Barbarian as much as you guys did. I found it. I think I found that film mid as well. I don't want to say that this film has nothing going for it. The tension was off the charts. It was absolutely and I as well am someone who has not seen any of the other Alien movies. And so I think that just their handling of the property, and like me as someone coming into the project or the franchise, excuse me, not understanding how any of this works, like a baseline knowledge of like the face huggers and then like the xenomorph popping out and whatnot. They did a good job of like making sure that was a well understood idea and establishing the world. I think Fade Alvarez and the writers did such a fantastic job with that. And the other writer, I think it's only one other one. But I don't know, man. I found the characters myself, I found them very bland and boring. And I don't know. I think that might be for me what I want out of movies the most is compelling characters. And I did not feel that here for anybody except for the main girl, which I forget her name, Kane or something. I don't know. Rain. Thank you. I thought that there were inklings of little things like with Rain's brother, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. But I don't think that there was amped payoff for those kind of things and whatnot. So storyline was fine. It was kind of just like a cut and dry, like, things are going to go bad. As far as the end is concerned, as I mentioned previously, I got spoiled. So by William, I knew that there was some other thing. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. I'll talk about that with the spoilers section a little bit more. And I gotta say that for me, I don't think I felt like that uncomfortable in that end section, truthfully. Like, I don't know if it was because I got spoiled and I kind of saw it coming, or if it was just like, no, I think I'm gonna put it on that actually, because I do think the design of the creature is successfully, and I know I'm spoiling it in the non-spoiler section. I apologize. But I mean, if you're listening to this, you're probably, I think, I don't know. I don't. Now I'm just excusing my ability to.
I mean, what you said was that there's a creature. I mean, it could literally be anything. Yeah.
But I think they did a good job with designing it and whatnot, and even its behavior necessarily, but just it didn't like it just felt like the other aliens to me. Like it's not. It wasn't anything like out of the. It didn't behave differently than the alien did. You know, it still wanted to kill everybody. You know, I don't know. It was. I'm getting too into the weeds. I'm yapping, but yeah, I if I had to give it a star rating, maybe like a 2.5.
That's crazy. He liked Trap.
Wait, that's actually true.
Hey, man.
Well, okay, Trap is movie of the summer. We all know this.
Yeah, true that. Oh man,
I don't know, man. Like, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I should drop my Trap score. Actually,
wow.
I mean, I
wasn't expecting that.
I don't know if I was expecting that or not, but I think like everything that you said makes sense and it's understandable. So it's hard to say that you're like, wrong about that, because it really does come down to a lot of personal preference, like with the type of movie that it is. But it is interesting that like, even though we kind of share that we still are
so
maybe vastly different. Maybe that is vastly different. Like jumping from a 5 to an 8 is, I guess, pretty drastic. So yeah.
I don't want to like, I don't write off all horror movies in it like instantaneously. It's just I don't feel like they do anything special in my mind. I don't know. Like it's just like I said before, it's really cut and dry. And when I got out of the movie and I thought back to, and this is no shade to Brandon. I don't want him to think that it's any shade coming to him, but because I had heard the Dune 2 comparisons, I was absolutely baffled, bro. I could not believe that there were people that thought this was on the same level as Dune 2 when I walked out of that film. I mean, obviously I think I have some like CinemaSins levels of critique that we'll get into with the spoilery stuff, and I'm sure you guys will have a lot to say in regards to what I have to say with that. But it's just like, I don't know, man. Like it's insane that some of the conversation to me, and that's why I want to clarify also. That's why I went on Letterboxd, because I wanted to understand, and I went to the film and I looked at other people's reviews. I wanted to understand where some of them were coming from. But it's such a wide range on Letterboxd. Like,
yeah,
that's the whole different discussion. Like people will just like leave 2-word reviews, a 5-star review, and like, oh, this is gonna save the concert tour or whatever. Like the reference to that. Who just got arrested? Justin Timberlake, like a reference to this is going to save the tour. I'm like, oh, okay, dude. I want to find out why you like the movie, dog. Like, come on.
It's become a cesspool over there. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I just dislike horror films more than you, Benjamin, or what, but
yeah, I'm not sure, because I think I was higher on Barbarian on my first watch. I have since seen it since my theaters watch and definitely like it a lot less.
Oh, really?
I think like once some of the shock value goes away, then, you start to see it in a different light. But for me, this wasn't necessarily based in that. I don't think I would akin this more to like, you might not like this comparison. And I'm not saying it's like to the full extent, but something like a movie like A Quiet Place for me, where everything from like a technical standpoint of the sound design, the visuals, all of that is at an incredibly high level. And then, your story and your characters are maybe a little more on the simple side. And I don't know how you even feel about the A Quiet Place movies, but like, I like all three of those. They're some of my favorite horror movies. And I know that that's like abnormal, I guess, to have that take, but that's that's the type of horror movie that I like more than, I'm trying to even think of what I watched. Like there was the Evil Dead movie that came out like a year or two ago that I went to go and see, and I do not understand. I watched the whole
I never
franchise
will.
leading up to it. I do not understand the hype for the Evil Dead movies, but horror fans love those films so much.
Yeah.
And for me, it just doesn't do it at all. Like that is just pointless gore, no story, there's nothing to it.
Yeah.
And so things like A Quiet Place or like this movie, there's a select few. It's very limited for me that like kind of rise above and do more for me.
Yeah.
So I guess with that comparison, like the Quiet Place movies, how do you feel about those films?
That's the thing. I'm like you. I love the Quiet Place movies, and I specifically thinking to. Sorry if you guys can hear that. Thinking about those, the characters within those films, I think are done exponentially better than a lot of horror movies out there. Even I just think of the first one, the whole situation with the youngest child dying at the beginning. Spoilers for A Quiet Place.
Oh, dude.
The youngest child dying in the beginning, and then the daughter thinking that the dad blames her for the year and a half that passed or whatever, and then for all of that to culminate, there's discussions throughout the movie, etc., for that to culminate with him in sign language giving up his life for her, saying, "I love you. I have always loved you." Banger. I think that's fantastic, and I think that that's continued throughout all of the movies except for. I mean, even in part 2, there's a little bit with like that that new Cillian Murphy's character.
Yeah.
There's a little bit with him as well, but the newest one as well. I'm not going to spoil that one, but I think that they did a good job. Joseph Quinn and oh my god, I forget her name. Lupita Nyong'o. Thank you. I think they did a fantastic job with their characters and relating them to each other and their struggles in life. I thought that that was fantastic. And then I look at something like this, and there were and like I mentioned, there were things that I clinged on to, and I will talk about those, but I just feel like there wasn't enough there for any like, and there's a specific one I'll mention as well, but I just didn't feel like there was enough to get me to fully be on board with the fate of these characters and care about the potential fate of these characters. With that being said, there's still a lot of damn cool scenes where I'm like, damn, like that's like this is super sick, and I'm excited to see how X character gets out of this, you know. So it's a really mixed bag, and I struggle to think of another, not necessarily franchise, but another just horror movie in general that other than A Quiet Place, because I think some people would be reluctant to call them horror movies, more thrillers or whatever, that I would appreciate more. I can't even speak to the Evil Dead movies. I haven't seen those. So mostly because I don't like horror movies. I did watch, what was the one about the with the cult that ended up taking over that, Aiden, you should know this cult that took over that and murdered that whole family. Spoilers for that film. The little girl,
Hereditary.
Yes, thank you. Yes,
Oh, you watched Hereditary?
I watched that
movie so much,
and like that was good. That the whole that family dynamic, they nailed that down really well, especially with reeling with what happened to the daughter and the kid or their eldest son and stuff. Like, great, you know. I don't know, man. I want to stop rambling, truthfully, but it's just wow.
Yeah. And I will say, like, since I brought up the comparison to the A Quiet Place movies, I wouldn't have this film above any of those three. I still think all three of those are better than this movie. I mean, I really like all three of those.
Sure.
So that's part of it. And even like Aiden said, it's his second favorite movie this year. I don't think it's in my top 5. I think it's like 7th or 8th or something.
Interesting.
So it's definitely like, it's hard to find a comparison because of kind of what you highlighted, where already not watching a lot of horror movies, but then also finding one that's structured similarly and isn't like traditional. Because this is more like A Quiet Place than it is like Evil Dead, because it is a more of a monster movie. It's sci-fi horror, more thriller, I would say. But this one just leans a little bit more into the scary side of things. So it is harder to find that comparison between films. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just interested to pick your brain because we haven't talked about a movie like this ever. So it is interesting to get your take on that.
Yeah, I will say I've been a horror fan hater. Not a hater of the fans. I've been a horror film hater for quite a while. Not like I'm out to get them or anything. Like I want horror movies to like show me, and like things like Hereditary are what like makes me happy that stuff like that can still elicit the good feelings I get from other films. So I was hoping that this one, with all the good reviews, which is why I wanted to go see it. I mentioned like I originally, like when watching the trailers for it before it came out and before reviews started dropping, I had little to no interest because I hadn't seen any of the other Alien films. But when everybody started talking about how good it was, I was like, I was hoping, because I didn't like Dune 1, you know, I was hoping it'd be like Dune, where I'd come out of this one and be like, damn, okay, everybody was right. Like, this is crazy. But alas, never happened.
I will say my comparisons to Barbarian, and this goes with how I just feel about horror movies. I can kind of play both sides to where I love Hereditary because, as Charlie said, the family dynamic, and also I love how just real it is, like how this stuff could happen, a cult overtaking a family, or like this cult infiltrating this family because they believe that, you know, one of the kids is whatever, just in case anyone hasn't seen Hereditary. I love stuff like that. I love that I can sit there and be like, oh man, this could actually happen. This is chilling. This is horrifying. That adds so much more to my experience. But then I can also watch a movie like Barbarian where I'm like, yeah, just throw anything at the wall and see what sticks. We have this giant mom creature that this dude just kept in his basement. Yeah, that's horrifying. That's so cool. And they didn't hold back from that. It wasn't just like there's just something lurking in the distance. It's like, no, we have this giant mom creature humanoid thing just wreaking havoc. And so that's why I liken this to Barbarian, because I love that in a horror movie as well. I also love just having, I guess we're in the spoiler section. If anyone hasn't seen the movie, click off. But just having, I think her name was Kay, the character of Kay, just give birth to this xenomorph alien hybrid, and just having this creepy, unsettling, uncanny valley creature just wreaking havoc and crawling around on all fours. It was horrifying. And I loved it because I was like, they're not shying away from this. They're not shying away from the possibility that she stabbed herself and didn't mutate, or she stabbed herself with I think they called it Prometheus. I haven't watched any of these movies either. I know what happens in the first one, but I didn't watch them either. Where she stabs herself with this Prometheus thing, and it wasn't just okay, let's go to Yavaga and let's live happily ever after. It was like, oh no, there's still more. It wasn't just the 100 xenomorphs on this ship. Now there's this humanoid xenomorph, or this human xenomorph mixture that literally shot out of her, that she gave birth to, and we are not shying back from any of it. So now Rain, thinking she's out of the clear, has to go back and take down this horrifying creature. I loved it, and that's why I'm linking it to Barbarian, because Barbarian didn't hold back in that aspect, and I feel like this movie didn't either, and that's what I love in a horror movie. I don't want a ghost possessing a nun and just seeing a big like mouth open, cicadas flying out. Like, that does nothing for me. I want to see the craziest thing that you have to offer, which is why I hated Smile so much. I liked it when I got out of the theater, but now I hate it because they didn't utilize what they did in the last 30 minutes throughout the whole movie. What you did in the last 30 minutes was the coolest shit in this entire movie. That thing just opening its mouth and taking over. I love that type of stuff. I love that type of stuff in my horror movies, in my monster movies. Now, if I were to sit down and watch a slasher film, okay, like I can try my best to put my head in that mindset where I'm like, I know what I'm watching. I'm just watching Jason, just wreak havoc on all these teenagers. Like I'm able to do that. But where I really fall in love with a horror movie is things like this. And I haven't watched the Quiet Place movies. I haven't. So I'm sure if I did, I'd
Wait, you
probably.
actually
I did
got
not know
spoiled.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, but which is fine. I know everything that
Oh, I
happens.
thought you
and
were
I just
joking when I said, okay, what the
I
fuck,
no,
Jess?
you're totally fine. I wasn't gonna stop you. I kind of know a little bit about what happens anyway, so you're totally fine.
I mean, that kid dying happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie anyway.
Well,
so.
I knew that, and correct me if I'm wrong. Spoilers for A Quiet Place. I knew that John Krasinski sacrificed himself. Like,
Oh, okay.
I knew
Yeah.
that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't really spoil anything I didn't already know, but anyways, that's what I love in my horror movie. And again, if I had watched all the Quiet Place movies, I'd probably be leaning more towards Ben. If I was in love with them, watching those and then watching this movie, I'd probably be like, oh, okay, but I like how this movie did it better, so I can't really rate it above it. But I mean, no, like this in Barbarian, that's why I loved Barbarian so much. Again, it falls off towards the end, but that's what I loved so much about this movie. It has exactly what I want in a horror movie. It has exactly what I want in terms of world building, in terms of just not caring and just killing off any and every character in this. Like, I like that. I like that there isn't a lot of plot armor. Again, Haley Spaney. Rain is the last girl standing. The future's uncertain on her brother, and everyone else is dead. I love it. Like that's sick. It show that these xenomorphs are capable of going ham and just obliterating this crew of kids. Show that this humanoid thing is capable of just wreaking havoc. And so it had a lot of what I wanted, and that's kind of where I lay on terms of our scale of me to Ben to Charlie. Is that and that's why I liken it to Barbarian. Is they do a lot of things in here that just it's a certain part of my brain that other movies just really can't. Like the Evil Dead movies, I'm sure I would not care about them at all. I genuinely don't care about them at all. Every time I saw the Evil Dead, I think it was Evil Dead Rise. Every time I saw that trailer, it continued to do nothing for me. I don't care about someone crawling upside down on a root on the ceiling. It doesn't do anything for me. Show me the crazy creature, like show me this type of stuff. I love it. And so that's where I stand on terms of this being my second favorite movie of the year. I think they did everything perfectly in terms of what I look for in a movie like this. And so just to put that out to contrast y'all's takes.
Yeah, I think I just want to something you said at the end there kind of caught my attention. You said that like they did it perfectly, and it's almost a way that I view it is for a movie like this that's heavily focused on kind of the sci-fi horror aspects. The execution of what they were going for was like at an incredibly high level. Like it was basically perfect for what they went for. I think that the issue that Charlie and I have is that for horror movies and sometimes movies like this is that they don't go for certain aspects when it comes to like story or characters. And so while it is like such a high level of execution for what they do, they also just kind of neglect other things, and they kind of just pick and choose where they want to put their focus, which isn't like necessarily a bad thing, but that's where the personal preference kind of comes in.
Exactly. And it's personal preference. Like that's a completely valid take. They're one-dimensional. As far as one-dimensional can go, especially the cousin, the character of the cousin, I forget his name, Bjorn, one-dimensional. Kay, one-dimensional. Tyler, one-dimensional. Like Andy, performance of the year, in my opinion. That man killed it.
Yeah, but I wanted to bring that up to Charlie just because he said only really like the main actress.
I'll finish my point. It is as far as close to one-dimensional as you can get. I understand that. To me, I don't really care because I'm there for the final girl. I'm there for the final girl. I'm there for the terrifying creatures, the unsettlingness of it all. That's what I'm there for. And so, again, with Barbarian, could not care less about either of those people. But I'm there for the final girl. I'm there for the horrifying aspects of this movie and the story they're trying to tell. And again, I can also, it's weird for me because I can also put my brain in that mindset of, okay, I'm watching Hereditary, I'm watching Midsommar, where these characters are a little bit more complex, where the story is a little more complex while also just being a terrifying horror movie. Where I really can't stand it is the possessed nuns or the slasher films. That's where I kind of check out. But for a final girl movie that's dealing with for a final girl monster movie, I'm all there for it. And so it is up to personal preference, and that just happens to be mine. And so it's a completely valid take. I completely agree with you there. I just kind of am able to bypass it because it has so much more that I love in it. But again, Charlie, take it away.
I do want to say that's the stance I've been trying to take with when I talk about this film. I told when I got out of the movie, I told William what I thought because Will liked it, and he was shocked that I didn't like it. He said like it's holding a lot of good reviews. So, and I said I really just don't think that like these type of movies are for me. Like this is not my thing. I'm not. That's not to say that I'm gonna give up on every single one. Like I'm not the kind of person like I'm gonna write off this entire. I'm never gonna write off horror movies. I'm always going to watch a horror movie, even if I don't necessarily love the genre. I'm still going to give each one a try because there could be gems like Hereditary within those that I do thoroughly enjoy. And I do want to say I wanted to clarify what I meant was not as far as characters go. I think that the main actress was the only one that really mattered as much, and I'll explain. Well, actually, we're already in the spoiler section. I wanted to say with her brother specifically, like I'm obviously great performance, fantastic performance from the actor. I don't know his name, was David Johnson. Or
David
something?
Johnson.
Great,
He was
great,
in Rye
great
Lane.
job.
I didn't know that.
In
Sorry.
what?
He was in Rye Lane. Ben, did you watch that?
I did, yeah.
How was he in that? Sorry, Charlie, I'm not trying to.
I don't know. You're fine. I don't even know what that is.
Really,
I heard it was amazing.
I mainly liked the chemistry between the two main actors in that film.
Charlie,
it was just it was like a rom-com basically.
Charlie, I feel like that'd be your cup of tea.
Really?
I haven't watched it, but I heard amazing. Oh,
yeah,
that movie. I heard really good things about Rye Lane, and I wanted to check it out. I didn't know he was in it. That convinces me to probably check it out. Anyways, sorry, Charlie.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I think that the existence of David Johnson's character helps further Rain's character. In fact, I don't think that he so much was meant to be his own. I think that he was a device for Rain as a character, rather than he himself being a device. He was a device for the plot, working for the company, et cetera, et cetera. And I did like that angle, but eventually had to take the chip thing out. I can't remember. I think they just called it a chip. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had to take that out, and then he went back to being Andy. And then Andy finally, I don't know if it like were we meant to understand in the beginning of the film that he's too timid and won't protect Rain, even though his prime directive is to do what's best for Rain. Because I just feel like the reason I'm bringing this up is it feels like when he did the whole big jump down the elevator shaft and shoot the xenomorph that was about to kill Rain, and then he says the alien line, get off of her, you bitch. It seemed like that was played as like a very like, oh, it's like he's finally heroic type moment, unless I just read it wrong. And so what I took from that was like, oh, he as this cyborg creature has evolved and wants to protect Rain in a better way now, even though I don't. My question is like, I don't understand why he wasn't able to do that before. They can't harm humans, right? But he's still supposed to be protecting Rain. So I don't. Maybe I just read the scene wrong. It wasn't like a final heroic thing for him. It was just a heroic thing in general, but I don't know. It just, as far as that character goes, as far as he went was just Rain cares about him, doesn't want him to be decommissioned or knocked around or be a not himself. Like it also felt very tacked on. I want to say there were certain lines where she was like, Andy, are you in there? When he walked away, I'm like, dude, like, what are we doing right now? Like, you know, that it's that chip, you know, like we got to get that chip out. And obviously like that was a challenge throughout the film. And I understand. And I registered with that and that's fine. It's just, I don't know. As far as like, basically what I'm trying to say is that her character had the most depth out of all of the characters. I think the most we got from Isabella Merced's character was she's pregnant and we don't know who the dad is, but we do know who the dad is because of that one little scene with cousin, whatever his name is.
Bjorn.
And then with her brother, I think the depth of his character was he cares about his sister and he wants to date Rain. And then the pilot chick, I actually don't think that she had much of anything, truthfully. Like she was the pilot, the classic pilot person, whether that the personification of a pilot, whether that be a man or a woman. It wasn't like, anything special. But with Rain, you had her trying, which I think we were all meant to understand that all of these kids were struggling on this planet, and that's just supposed to be a universally known thing. But with Rain specifically, we talked about how her parents died to lung cancer while mining in the mines, or some kind of lung disease while mining in the mines, and she's trying to do her best to provide for her and her brother, even though at the time we didn't know that her brother was a cyborg or whatever. But even then, that's the most of it. And then she cares about her friends and stuff. And I feel like that's the extent of even Rain's character. And what I was mentioning, where I was hoping that they were going to build up to, was how just cartoonishly evil Bjorn was to Andy, like a cartoonish bully. Out of nowhere, he would just like walk up to him like, "Hey, I want to beat your ass. I just want to like fucking hit you." So I'm like, what are we doing, dude? And I thought that of all things, Andy was just going to be this servicing cyborg doing the best he can to help everybody in every situation. And then in the end, he was going to have to like sacrifice himself in some like semi-emotional way, which doesn't necessarily serve his character or anything. Like I do fully believe that he's still willing to do that. But even that was just kind of like, as Aiden mentioned, his fate is kind of just up in the air. It was just a very like throwaway thing. But that also speaks to, if that's what you enjoy, because like, as also Aiden mentioned, like, nobody's safe. There's no plot armor type situation here. Everybody's dying left and right, except for Rain. But even her fate was in doubt for me. I will give the movie that credit at the very end. I thought she might get like sucked out into space or something, and then the ship would just be empty, floating off into the asteroid belt. But sorry, bro, I be yapping too much, I swear. Go ahead, Benji. I feel like you were on the edge of your seat.
I mean, since we're talking about the characters, I'll specifically just focus on that. I think I know you said you're trying to have this perspective, but part of my thing when I go into horror movies is like any characters that are introduced, I just expect are going to die. Like, I understand that the purpose of having this many characters in this film is to kill them off. And
Fair.
there are films that are able to set up more interesting dynamics and connections and situations and whatnot, and kind of like further that tension and give you a little bit more before people are killed off. But for most horror movies, they kind of follow that, honestly, that generic formula where it's like, okay, we're increasing our character count just so we can increase our kill count. That is just how it goes. And so like with basically all of your takes, I agree. Like I agree that some of them just did not have a point to really being there. Um, I think specifically with I consider them our main two characters. I guess that's kind of up for debate, but with Rain and Andy, I think that they had a lot of really interesting ideas laid out for them. Just even the fact of Andy being a cyborg and kind of the dynamic that is set up with just like him being able to switch out his chips, and ultimately that he was supposed to like make the sacrifice play and whatnot. I think there was a lot of good ideas there, and I really liked his performance throughout. So I was thoroughly engaged in that. I think by the end, I agree with you that they didn't really like win me over or do anything that took it to that next level. I still like appreciated what it was, and for a horror movie like this, if that's a fair way to word it, I don't know. Um, that's like it's more of what you would expect, I guess. So for me, since I wasn't anticipating anything more, I wasn't too upset about not getting more. But I also can understand why for some people, or for people who don't like movies like this, why that would kind of hinder things a little bit. Um, but yeah, on most of those, I fully agree with you just on their use. A character that I wanted to bring up just because we didn't talk about him at all, and I forget what his name is in the film, but
The other android cyborg thing.
yeah, played by actor Ian Holm. Um, and I don't know if you guys know this, but um, he is an actor who was in the original Alien movie, and so that was meant
I
to be a
figured.
whole big reveal about like, oh, he's still alive, whatever, working for the corporation, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and he also passed away. I don't know how long ago that was. And so there's been kind of this big, I would say pretty big controversy, at least when it comes to like the Alien fan base, about um, them bringing back his character, but also just like the heavy CGI that they used in
Yeah.
order to bring back his character and whatnot. Um, and then also like his specific use within the movie. There's been kind of a lot of discussion on that, which is interesting because it always goes kind of those two different routes. It's like how it is in the specific movie, and then issues with like the use of the actor, which I mean that's honestly what is going to be the discourse for a lot of things. Like think about RDJ. People are going to go the route of how did they use his characters in the movies, and then also with stuff outside of that. Because I literally heard one of my real life friends the other day said their view of Doctor Doom is already going to be hindered because they don't like that it's RDJ. They already have that stance automatically.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is just an interesting take. But anyways, I'm getting off track with that. So this is kind of one of those things that, like, since I haven't seen the other Alien movies, I don't have like as much of a say in it. But I do think that just looking at the character from kind of the outside looking in, that it really, in a weird way, it felt almost forced how much they used his character. And so in that sense, and in the fact that they did use a lot of CGI and whatnot in order to make that happen, I wasn't like the biggest fan of that. I thought some of it was fine. Like if you were ever viewing him through like a TV screen, that obviously helped with the CGI and whatnot. um, but more like specifically for them bringing back an old character and whatnot, um, I thought it was like fine, but it didn't feel like super necessary. I don't know. I feel like they could have, instead of relying on that character, they could have told similar storylines and still like achieved similar things with what they had set up with Andy being a cyborg and the chips and whatnot. Like you could still get there without having to do like jump through all of these hoops to bring back this old character who is also the actor is no longer alive.
Yeah.
So that's just my take on it, but I did want to bring it up because like I know we don't know as much because we haven't seen all the movies, but I did think it was like an interesting thing just to discuss.
I feel like pipe down, little boy.
I barely started talking. I don't even think I made a noise.
I automatically assumed that he was from the old movie because I was like, why does this look so bad? Like they could easily have. I mean, you could have done it literally any other way, and it would not. Like, why not just use the actor? So while I'm watching the movie, I'm like, okay, I'm sure this is someone from the first movie, and then I was like, oh, I wonder if this dude passed away, and that's why they're using CGI so heavily. And I guess hearing you confirm it makes a ton of sense. But I feel like you could have even just had Andy take over that role for a while. I mean, I don't think you really needed him towards the end where he's like, sorry, this is the mission. I'm in autopilot. Hey, why are you turning me off? Like, you don't really need that. So his duration is literally from the time that Andy gets his chip put in him to when Andy gets his chip taken out of him. Why not just have Andy take over that role? That's my stance on it. I don't obviously don't know how it fits into the other movies, but my first fix is just have that be Andy's role in the movie. And then you can still have that moment where she takes the chip out and he's like, okay, we got to go. We got to hit over here. The ship's on autopilot. We can just click it and take off. You can still have that moment where she goes back for him and takes the chip out of him. So that's my stance on it. He's really not incredibly important.
Yeah, I don't know. Since I haven't seen the films either, I don't know if that idea of the chips being transferred between androids and cyborgs is a well-known thing, for one, and two, if it's established how those chips work already. But if it wasn't, why? I guess why not just make the chips? Because I think there's a specific line in the movie where Andy says, when after getting the new chip, that he has no like new knowledge, no data about the xenomorphs, the face huggers, and how they work. Just a baseline understanding of things now. But why not? If it's not an established thing, let me clarify that again. Why not just make that a thing where he does have all this knowledge now because he took that chip from that guy. They took that chip from that android. So then he has all this knowledge about how this stuff works. He would be able to autopilot their ship to get out of there, et cetera, et cetera. Because I think other than the piloting the ship part, I think that character was mostly just an exposition device for the vials and stuff with the rat and whatnot. So yeah, it was an interesting choice to keep coming back to that character for all these different seemingly little insignificant things, with the exception, I guess, of the autopilot thing. Just, I don't know. It's another. I think this falls in line with my more CinemaSins level critiques of the film. For this one, I think can be explained, but. So, actually, let me just ask it off the rip. Were all the xenomorphs down at the bottom of the ship? Were those just already there? Those were there the whole time, like they first got there, or was it after they got there that all those xenomorphs then like grew from all those people exponentially? Do you think?
So you're saying like all of the ones that we then see in the ship towards like the climax of the movie, were they just there?
Where they're at the bottom, and then all the ones that basically are running at Rain, and she has to like shoot all their heads with the gun. All those xenomorphs, were those there? Do you guys think that those xenomorphs were there when they arrived on the ship early on with everybody still alive, or were they made after the first xenomorph got away?
I feel like
Was made.
it's hard to say. Like my gut would say that they were already there because they were like
Me too,
almost
yeah.
in cocoons. But then the other part of me is like we see a hybrid be born and evolve very quickly in size. So it's
Sure.
I don't know an exact answer, but I also don't.
Yeah.
For me, I don't. I guess my question back would be, Why does it matter, or why are you like asking the question?
It's
What
a
is
cinema sins. It's a
Yeah,
cinema
it's a
sins hour.
because and I guess I'm probably going to answer the question myself here, but they go out of their way, and granted, again, I know I keep reiterating it, but I've not seen any other Alien movies. So if anybody in the comments is upset with me, they go out of their way to mention that the facehugger is matching the pilot girl's breathing to keep her alive, right? So I then take from that the person has to be alive in order for a xenomorph to efficiently grow out of their body, at the very least, efficiently. Properly, I would say, grow out of their body.
Bro, your cat just
Grow
closed the
properly.
door.
He
That was so
just shut
sick.
himself in. But so then, with that being the case, I guess that all the xenomorphs would have had to have been there already, right? Because all those people down below are dead and have been long dead. So then you can't grow a xenomorph out of those people. But then also, that was one thing I originally had. I was like, well, how are all those xenomorphs? Because originally I thought those xenomorphs were made. Like they brought all those dead bodies, because it looked like the first xenomorph right after it got out of the ship with Isabella Merced's character was dragging two dead bodies along with it. Like when she was sitting there like quiet, it dragged two bodies with it. And so I thought that those xenomorphs were made, but then I was like, but that doesn't make sense based off of what but anyway, the next point following up with that, he just shut it some more. The next point following up with that is, so if that is the case, and they were all made before, they established that these xenomorphs, these aliens, have some sort of like innate intelligence to them. Like he was waiting, Andy, when he had that chip in it, the xenomorph was waiting for them to open that door so they could kill everybody. And then they also go out of their way to say, these motherfuckers are hunting us. If there's a gigantic pit full of xenomorphs at the bottom of the ship, and all these dudes are making all this noise up above, why are they not going to go hunt these guys? Why are they not jumping up trying to kill all of them already? You know, I have to let this dude out of this room. So, but ponder with that real quick.
Bro said ponder with it.
I don't
know. I don't think that that's a crazy question, because for me, I mean, it's a spaceship. It's a huge spaceship that has airlocks and I mean, even like sometimes they have to be like door to door yelling at each other to even communicate.
Yeah.
So like if it's a secure space station, can they really hear that from all the way down there? I don't know. Maybe that's just a silly excuse to make up so that the movie makes sense. But I like that, to me, is like a non-factor. It doesn't.
No, I agree, which is why I'm like, it's a cinema sins level thing. Like that's all. That's why that's what I was saying.
I think it just doesn't make a difference.
I will say, somebody listening to this that has seen all the movies and probably knows the definitive answer is probably like triggered so hard right now. I'm just being like, what are y'all talking about? It's because of this, because of this. So I apologize. I deeply apologize. I wanted to watch at least the first and second Alien because I knew it took place between those two, but I just didn't have time. And on a split decision, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the earlier showing. So I apologize. I do.
The next thing actually I wanted to say is, and I think this is a less so CinemaSins complaint. There was already a fully laid out plan in order for her to live, Isabella Merced's character, for her to get by and live and survive just fine. Rain tells her, take the elevator up, get on the ship, get in hit autopilot, get yourself in a pod. You're gonna be fine. She's like, fuck you. And then puts and injects herself with this thing, this she has no idea how this works because she was not there for this rat thing. She's just told, oh no, this is like, oh yeah, I'll just put this in my body. Dude, you're gonna survive no matter what. Like, I don't understand why she decided to do this. And that's because of that decision is the entire reason that the very end of the third act, even takes place, and it's just so like that seems so lazy of a way to make that happen to me. I don't know. It's like when you have the main character already give like an entirely well thought out way of how this character is going to survive. Why, with no explanation, this girl just goes out of her way. This pregnant girl goes out of her way to inject herself with something that she has no idea what it does, and then it's like
but that was after her encounter with the face hugger, right?
what the Isabella Merced's character had an encounter with the face hugger.
Oh,
I don't
wait,
think
I'm
so.
misunderstanding what you're saying.
I was under the impression, for some reason, that she knew what the
What it does.
Prometheus would do. I don't know why. I don't know how. Again, like I watched.
Well,
it
they
yesterday, so I
did.
can't really remember.
She got like a baseline understanding of it just because Andy was right there and
Okay.
with the chip in, and Andy was like, "That's her best
Oh yeah,
chance."
yeah. They were like, "What's the chance? What's the odds?" Yeah. I thought that she was just like, I just want to play this safe. I don't think I'm gonna make it. Let me bring the final monster in, and
So.
it literally is just that. Like it's a valid complaint. It really is, but it got me my monster, so I'm more than happy with it.
I do want to say the scene where they were really creative, very creative. The acid blood, low gravity, fantastic.
I thought that was a little goofy. I'm not gonna lie.
Really, wow.
What?
Yeah, I thought it was a little.
No,
it
no.
was cool, but it was one of the moments where I was like, "All right, really?" Like,
No.
I get you're like you're trying to find a way out, and like, okay, we need to get like, how are they gonna get out of this? But it's like you're gonna like maneuver. We saw what like even just a couple of drops did to Bjorn. It literally just ate his entire body up, and you're telling me that they're just like, ooh, we've been all these tiny droplets just moving and like slowly. When I was like, all right,
Why? What is this?
All right.
Whenever they're like moving through the railings, and she's like, "Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out!" and then he just like, or she just like shoots herself down. I'm like, you just killed so
That
many
was
of these.
so
It was sick.
good.
It was sick, and it was cool. Like, don't get me wrong, it was really cool, which is why I don't have a complaint with it. But I was like, really, like, this is kind of like fantastic.
No.
Again, in a giant
I loved
alien
it. I
movie,
thought
I
it was
have
a good scene.
problem
No,
with
I
something
got.
that's
Listen,
fantastic.
I'm gonna defend this, and I like you said it's cool, whatever. I think this is one of the moments where Fade Alvarez is so good at filmmaking when it comes to setting up tension. And so it builds on multiple things throughout the movie that were set up. So we have the xenomorph blood, of course, and
Great
then you have the gravity switching, which had already been a thing in the movie that was set up. And so it culminates in this scene, and the way that it builds, where you're like, we understand what's about to happen, like it as it's about to happen. And then the added intensity of like having limited bullets in the gun and whatnot, like the way that all of that plays out, I think is done so incredibly well. And I don't think it was cheesy when they're like maneuvering through, because it's not like they were just like wiggling around, going wherever they want. It's like they were flying, right? Um, they were actually like, maneuvering and being careful and whatnot. And like the moment when she doesn't have the ability to latch onto a ledge or move herself, and I literally was like, how does she even get out of this? And then like the shooting of the gun, like I not only thought it was sick, but I thought that like the setup to get there with that intense scene and like all of the buildup and all of the elements coming together, I thought it was great. I loved that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was just like, man, there was just so much alien blood. There was so much xenomorph blood flowing around, literally just flowing freely. And they're just like, you're telling me they got past all of that blood and not a single drop. That's when I was like, all right, like this is cool. This is sick. It's great visuals. Like, oh my God, this movie is shot beautifully. Oh my God, it is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, that moment I was like, all right, come on.
Especially watching the ship hit the rings of the planet. Fantastic shot.
It was a beautiful movie. Charlie, You know what I'm about to ask, man?
No.
How did you feel about the Dina and Ellie of it all? I know they shared one scene, but that scene was literally there.
Well, there was 2 scenes where I actually was sitting there
and
thinking, yeah.
bro, I saw a tweet. I'm sorry, I saw a tweet that said, "There's no way Alvarez has not played the game." Isabella Merced's character is literally.
Wait.
I know, but like this, like he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. No, that's.
Anyways,
I mean, yeah.
how did you feel about the Ellie and Dina of it all?
I can't. I mean, I was feeling it. I will tell you, I was feeling it and seeing it the whole time. I thought that I thought of it in that one scene, but then I saw the other scene, and then I was like, oh, I wonder if he meant this one instead, though.
When she puts her head together with her, when she puts
later
her
in the
head
movie.
together, I was like, I got chills. I was like,
dude, that's what. Yeah, I was.
Man,
like that's. I mean, jeez,
so
I don't. I hate to be like. I don't want to be like the. Oh man, we got to get Bella Ramsey out of there type thing. But like that would it would have been something to see.
But we got Caitlin Deaver.
True. That's
Anyways,
crazy to think about too. Also, like someone who was supposed to play Ellie before.
Sorry, I would have been remiss. I would have been remiss if I didn't ask. I had to pick your brain on that.
So. No, I mean it was fantastic. Truthfully, it does make me wonder, and that's what I think I don't like about it. Is like it makes me wonder, and
I hate
and
that.
Then I start thinking about everything else. So,
wow, thanks for the spoilers.
No, you didn't hear.
There's
any
no
spoilers. You didn't hear any spoilers.
I can infer some things, but you know,
no, you can't. No, you can't. And plus, you have until March to forget, buddy boy. Okay, so
it's not what you think. I'll just say that it's not what you think.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, the floor is y'all.
I mean that scene, the alien blood scene, I enjoyed a lot, and I also like the shot, like I mentioned with the rings, and I will say the entire last fight with the creature was pretty cool. I did love the last jump scare too. I saw it coming, but like. I thought that's when the monster looked creepiest with all the shards of whatever glass or whatever something was in its face. Like it looked horrifying to me at that moment. Like I was like, dude, that's like, if that was in my face, like when I woke up in the morning in bed, like, oh my God.
I love her final line. I think she says die. Go. Does she say
when she's hanging on the rope?
Does she say die, motherfucker, or go die, mother, or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
But when she screams it again, that was another moment where I was like, "That's Ellie." Like the voice and everything. I was like, "That sounds exactly like Ashley Johnson." I love that part though. That was such a hype moment where she's just dangling off. The cargo falls off with them, and she's just like, "Die, motherfucker!" And then climbs back up. It was awesome. I think the way that they killed the monster was really cool and creative as well, where she's just hanging out of the ship and she knows that literally any part of this monster has to be fully gone now. This motherfucker is literally dropped in the middle of space. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the I guess hybrid creature, because this was another point of disagreement for people who have seen these movies. And I think so. One of the Alien movies is Prometheus. That's like what it's called.
I knew I recognized that title somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that movie also dealt with some sort of hybrid creature shenanigans that people weren't the biggest fan of, which is why they didn't like it here. So there's kind of this. I mean, I don't know if it's like split down the middle, but there's a part of Alien fans that really hated that, and it coming back, they're just like, no, let's just keep it with the original. Like, what are we even doing? And then I think there's a group of people that are more okay with it. But as somebody who hasn't seen the films, like for me, that creature was scarier than any of the other ones. And it came as a surprise. I should have expected it, I think, a little bit more. But literally when we like first see the creature in the dark, and you kind of start to piece together what's actually happening, and they've set it up well with like where our characters are and kind of showing the back and forth so that we understand what is actually going on. like my reaction to that, like I was stunned. Like I did not expect that at all. And I think the only thing that I didn't like about it is I think the face was a little too human like. But like the actual design of like the back of it and the lankiness of the arms and legs and whatnot, that all I thought was done very well. It was a little too human. So some of like the close-ups, I think it started to lose me a little bit. But other than that, I really liked the design. But it was more so just like sheer, I guess, shock. But like for me, it really did, it worked. And I feel like it was a better idea than it was an execution, because ultimately it just ended up being like the alien that they needed to defeat or whatever. When it was first introduced, I thought it was going to be like this alien is protective over his mother, and that there was this like new dynamic between the characters and whatnot. And that I think has more interesting ideas. And instead it just turned into more just like, oh, it's just a different design for the same alien or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was personally like, I was on board with it. And as a twist, I think people are considering this kind of a twist for like the final alien. I think it worked well. At least for me, I think that's where like, I don't know, that and to the end took this up from like a 7 out of 10, a 3.5 star up to a 4-star. Like I was liking the movie and I thought it was all really solid, but that's where it just like, it really took it up a notch.
Yeah, I mean, I can equate that to, that took me from a 4.5 to a 5-star. I was already loving the movie, and then they did exactly what I love to see and just brought in another crazy, cool, creepy creature. And I absolutely loved it. I got it semi spoiled for me. All I knew was that people were like, the last 30 minutes are literally crazy, and it's like the last 30 minutes are like, some of the best horror movie of the year. And then I saw people saying that there was like a scene at the end that like, or there was a scene towards the end that made me gasp or literally made me shake in my shit, all this stuff. And so I was waiting for it, and I was sitting there and I was like, oh, I guess it was probably the moment that the alien jumped out of the other girl. I was like, maybe that's when it was, or maybe I was like, whatever. I was like, well, whatever it was, I missed it. And then that's immediately when her pod started freaking out. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, oh no, this is so bad. And I was just like, there was a dude next to me. He brought his like 11-year-old son with him. And I was like, oh, that's a choice. But
11-year-old.
yeah, he was young. And after every trailer, he'd look at him, he'd be like, what'd you think about that one? and he'd be like, yeah, I thought it was pretty badass. And so, yeah, anyways, I was waiting for it, which I guess kind of maybe spoiled it a bit, but it was nowhere near what I would have expected the end to be. So I loved it. Great decision.
Well, since I got it spoiled for me, once she injected herself, I immediately knew that was going to be the different creature. So I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop, essentially. And I don't know if that hindered my experience at all, but maybe a little bit, because I feel like the shock factor of it definitely helps. Like Ben was saying, he was shocked by it. I feel like that definitely helps with the experience a little bit. So a little bit, it sucks a little bit there, but like I said, I still enjoyed watching Rain actually try to like take down the new creature. But yeah, to Ben's point about the design of the creature, I didn't find it all that haunting at all, truthfully. Like I don't know if it's because we grew up with like Slenderman, but like I didn't, it had the same tail as the xenomorph, and then its back looked a little creepy. But other than that, it was just and I guess its genital area was like an X for whatever reason. I don't know what happened there, but
I wouldn't even look in there, man. Charlie, you're weird, bro.
I'm sorry.
Bona.
Bona.
You know where I'm trying to look, dog.
Okay, I
as,
guess.
as soon as that thing was available for me to see, that's where my eyes went.
Oh, I think just a question about that when it comes to design. Does like a human-esque figure that has weird proportions, does that not make you feel uneasy?
That does for me.
I'm trying to think of like the closest another example I'm trying to think of. The mom in Barbarian did look a little creepy to me, as well as like that creature in Smile that's in there for like 2 seconds. The thing that Aiden mentioned, like opening its mouth, that was a little creepy to me. Sure, I think it's just how it's deformed. Like those ones are very like, I don't know if you could say like chubby, I guess, like a lot more husky, I guess, and like this one is just tall and lanky. Like I said, it's like Slenderman, which granted Slenderman was wearing a suit and whatnot, and he had a white mask or whatever. Maybe that was just his face. I don't remember much about Slenderman too much.
Well, he's right behind you. You can just ask him.
This guy. But I don't know that like I baseline answer. I want to say yes. Like they can creep me out. I just don't know if that one did really, truthfully. I don't know what it was specifically. Maybe it was like you said, like the face was too human looking. I think a really messed up face is what will kind of do it for me, maybe. But looking at like the xenomorph, having grown up looking at the xenomorph in different clips and trailers or whatever I've seen, like with its really bony black human skeleton-ish skeleton and whatnot. Like I'm used to that kind of look, I think, by now. So I don't know. I don't want to be shitting on this movie in every little aspect of it. All right, guys. I just want to clarify. But that's why I just say like I found it mid. Like it wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, but I did enjoy a lot of the cinematography. That was a high point for me. And the tension I thought was really good. The first scene of with real tension was with the face huggers, I think, in the cryo room, which I also think another CinemaSins complaint. You guys are in a spaceship, right? You're in this new room you've never been in. You're not looking around at every single thing, every chance you get. Like, how do 20 different face huggers fall out of their knapsacks without you noticing? All right, whatever.
What about the moment when Andy grabs the one behind him?
That was badass, actually.
That was sick.
Cool. Yeah, that was super cool.
That was sick.
I was like, oh, dude, you guys would understand this if you've watched Chuck, but I was like, dude, he flashed. He's about to
sell me on Chuck. Go ahead. Take the remainder to sell me on Chuck.
Aiden's only doing this so that he can sell you on One Piece.
I already tried to use that against him.
He's not holding up his end of the deal. I don't know if you remember this, Benjamin. We said, both Aiden and I, he said, if I watch Better Call Saul, then he will watch Chuck.
I do remember this.
And what happened? Charlie didn't watch it until 2 years later.
I'm watching it right now.
Why should I hold up my end of the deal?
Because I finally held up mine. What are we talking about?
Yeah, but it's not because you were like, all right, Aiden's going to watch Chuck if I watch Better Call Saul, so I'm going to watch it. No, that's not why you did it. You chose to watch it for a different reason.
Maybe, but the deal is still the deal, my guy.
Whatever.
I like what Ben's saying right now. Personally.
If he watches One Piece, I'll do it. I added on.
Okay.
It's one thing to just watch it. It's another thing to watch and react to every episode.
Of One Piece?
Of Chuck. Where if you watch it.
Oh, yeah. He did say he would react to it. Yeah. You're not going to, I don't know. You should post that on your TikTok. Why? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I do think it's great stuff, but it's a lot of great character stuff. I keep telling you guys, I love character stuff. And so Chuck,
dude, and that's why you would love One Piece. The character work is top tier.
No, it's not, bro. No, it's not.
The character work is top tier.
Character work is consists of what's the main character's name? Luffy. just screaming at everybody.
Why did you do
this?
Luffy
How
has.
could you?
I'll say this: Luffy does not have any character development, but he doesn't need it. It's how everyone else adapts to. Luffy does not care who you are or what you come from. It's how much of a friend you are to him. He doesn't care about your past. He doesn't care about anything. There's a lot of things where you find out some incredible lore about a character that he's close to, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I knew that a long time ago." And they're like, "Why didn't you say anything?" Because he's like, "Because that doesn't change who he is as a person." And so Luffy does not need any character development. It's the people around him that
Luffy
change.
the goat.
Anyways, bro, Luffy's a goat. Luffy's a goat. All right. Anyways, Ed, do we have any other stuff on Alien Romulus we would love to touch on?
I don't think so. Me personally,
I don't think so. I feel like we covered everything that I really wanted to talk about.
do you guys want a follow-up movie? You guys want a sequel to this one specifically?
Depends on how they do it. If they follow Rain and Andy to Yavaga and we get to see a little bit of that, but then I feel like you're getting away from like what an alien movie is. You know what I do want to see? I want to see the Predator from Prey. I want to get another movie on that. Which I think Brandon told me they are doing another one set in the Japan Shogun era. I think that would be
I think
really
I heard
sick.
about that as
Did
well.
you watch
yeah.
Prey, Charlie?
Yeah, I did. I finally
Did you like that one?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm surprised that one didn't come to mind because that is a good example.
That's a great movie.
I actually don't know why it didn't come to mind either. Actually, because like Predator and Alien, like those kind of go hand in hand with each other.
I'm not sure about a follow-up movie. What I will say is I do want to dive into all of the Alien movies and get into like the Predator versus Alien, because that's something that obviously you hear that growing up, Predator versus Alien and like stuff like that. And now having seen Prey without any previous Predator knowledge and watching Alien Romulus without any previous Alien knowledge, now watching those two reiterations or retellings of these characters and these creatures does make me want to dive into this universe a little bit more, if nothing else. So maybe I will. Maybe I'll check back with y'all on that.
I think I would watch a sequel, but I don't know. I would only want it. Well, it really depends. I don't know. I was going to say I would only want it if like Fade Alvarez was going to come back and do it, just because this stylistically is so good. And so like, if you're going to come back and do a sequel that doesn't at least meet the technical requirements to be at the same level as this movie, that's where I'm already like, I wouldn't want it, which is kind of like weirdly, I don't want to say I've had similar thoughts about like Marvel movies, but I saw the leaked clip of Harrison Ford turning into Red Hulk from the Brave New World trailer. And like, I cannot get out of my head, why does this look worse than when we were seeing the Hulk in like the Avengers and whatnot? Like, why does it look worse? And so like, I don't know. For me, when you're regressing, even from just like a technical standpoint, you're already losing me a little bit because you've set the bar and it should not go down from that. So that's like my big caveat is like, I'd take another movie like this any day, as long as it was a movie like this. So I definitely watch it, but I don't overly desire it just because it's not like fully my thing. And it's not a franchise that I am super invested in.
I do want to say specifically to the Hulk thing, it's not coming out till February, dog. Okay. They got plenty of time to fix it. All right.
That trailer, oh man,
Fantastic
watching it again, it gets me so hyped. I will say, how funny would it have been if I was like, you know what I would want? That the monster from Prey against this monster. That'd be sick. It's like, brother, there's a Predator versus Alien movie.
There's a couple of those movies, right?
I should have
just seen any of them.
I have no idea.
I think there's a couple, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few Predator movies as well.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I am super excited because I do remember hearing that they're going to make another like Prey style movie, but in a different era. And then because I remember the conversations of people on Twitter saying like, what if they did this like with multiple different eras? Like it would be super sick. And I agree. I think that would be a really cool idea. But alas, it wouldn't be for the Alien franchise because it's fucking awful. Clearly, I'm sorry, yo. I'm sorry,
Dang.
people in the comments. If you like this franchise, I'm not trying to shit on the whole franchise. I just didn't particularly enjoy this movie. Okay, so, but
I
think
will
it's gonna-
say real quick, how much knowledge do y'all have of the first movie?
a little bit.
I know. What's the actress's name? Sigourney Weaver. Yes, I know she's in
So
it.
I read up on it a little bit, and again, anyone in the comments, feel free to just torch me. We're probably triggering a lot of people, but I read up, and I guess I read like a general like summary of it because I wanted to know a little bit about it before going into the movie. And apparently the crew encounters the alien again. I just read a summary, so I don't know all the details. The crew encounters the xenomorph and then realizes that the company set them up and knew that they would get that alien on their ship, but wanted to get the alien on the ship and sent back so that they could do
Study it.
research on the xenomorph. So the crew was set up from the beginning and they didn't know that. And that's why the character in the movie and Andy, the cyborg in the movie and Andy, keep saying this is for the company, like finish the job that we couldn't finish a long time ago. Get that Prometheus to us. It doesn't matter who dies and it doesn't matter at what cost. Get that stuff to us for the company. So I don't know if y'all knew that. Obviously, it wouldn't change either of y'all's mind, but just figured I'd throw that out there because I read up on the summary, and that's the only reason I was able to figure out why he was so like for the company, like, you know, this is what we're trying to do, like bring the Prometheus back. Doesn't matter who lives or who survives, just get it back to us. And so that happened in the first movie. Which I think is a really cool twist. Sending his crew out to space, knowing that they're just going to die. You're only trying to get research. So I'll have to check out the first movie.
I did find out that the rock that they pick up at the beginning of the movie was what Sigourney Weaver's character like shipped the xenomorph off of their ship, like sent it off in, like that big rock.
Yeah.
And so that was them picking that up. So I didn't know that. And so I thought that was cool.
That's cool. I was wondering what the significance of that was because I was like, where is this set? Like, is this? I had no idea what it was. So, which I didn't know you would need to even watch any of the other movies, which I guess you don't need to, but it does help. Obviously, we didn't. So, whatever. Anyways, that's all I had left.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching and listening. If you're on Spotify, please leave a comment. We would love to look at our glorious fan mail. We'd love to read it on the podcast for you. We will read your messages on the next episode of the podcast. Each week, if you leave a comment, we will read it no matter what it is. If it says I hate Benjamin, we'll read it.
You know? Who's saying that?
Which honestly, I'm not surprised that we don't have any. Not saying that we're gonna get a whole bunch, but later on today, I guess August 22nd, our D23 video will drop, and that's whenever I said it at the beginning of the episode, whereas the trap episode I said it at the very end. So who knows? Maybe we might get some starting tomorrow, but obviously if we do, we missed it this episode. I apologize.
Yeah.
I might even see if I can add something in the beginning of this episode too and be like, hey, send us a text message and this, and this, but whatever.
Got to make sure to link it in the YouTube as well.
I'll try. I tried to figure out how to get it from the Buzzsprout description to the YouTube description, and I couldn't really figure it out, and so I just gave up. But I'll look into it a little bit more, like how to embed the link in the message in YouTube. I don't know. Anyways,
but yeah, if you're on Spotify as well, or also if you are on Spotify, drop us a rating. We would love a good rating, or a bad one. You know, we deserve a bad one, especially me for this discussion today. But tell us how you really feel with the rating. We would really appreciate it, no matter what it is. Truthfully, if you're on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the dislike button. We don't care. We love it either way. You know, drop a comment, say how stupid my opinion on everything that I said today was, especially my cinema sins things. I would love to hear it. Shout out to all the people, or not all the people, but I think there was one person on the Deadpool and Wolverine episode that said something about the bone breaking comment that I made on the adamantium stuff. Shout out to that guy.
We need
But
we need a cinema sin section for Charlie for every movie we cover.
I want to clarify as well. Like when I bring these up, I don't actually mean them as like an actual slight against the movie. It's just like a little like, well, why didn't they do this kind of thing, you know? So, but yeah. Also hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, because clearly, I say it every week, we are sticking to this grind, baby. Look at us. What we said 5 weeks in a row, crazy. And we're still trucking along. Next week, I think Benjamin's going to be a married man. We're going to have a married man on the podcast. Isn't that
That's
insane?
crazy.
That
Beautiful.
is crazy. One of us will be married. Oh my goodness. But yes, we appreciate each and every single one of you. Beamish, looking at you. Sorry, I shouldn't. No special treatment. Fuck you, Beamish.
10K for Memish, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mimish, congrats on 10K, brother, man. Congrats on 10K. But we will catch you guys in the next episode. Mimish, by the time you see that, you will have hit 10K like 2 weeks ago. But
Yeah, true.
whatever. You still, congrats, brother. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and hope you have a wonderful day, night, morning, evening, wherever you are, and whatever time you're listening or watching. Adios.
Sayonara.